Summertime crappie offer untapped action. Up next, Jon shows fish head fans how to find and catch offshore slabs other anglers miss.
There he goes. There, he's got it. Got him. Man, that's cool. I just watched this fish mess with it, mess with it, mess with it. And he finally bit it. Good crop. Good crop to start our morning. This is what we're after today. Summertime crappies. And summertime crappies can get a little bit trickier than fall crappies. Fall crappies, you know, they're coming out of the weeds. They're getting themselves into those areas where they're pretty easy to catch. But summertime crappies, they can be a little bit trickier to find here. I'm gonna have to grab my toolkit out of here. But we're gonna talk a little bit about how to find those fish today. Because here's the thing, if you can find certain structures, certain areas, you can catch fish like this. We're gonna keep a few for dinner. We'll keep some of the smaller ones today. Great little 9-inch crappie to start. Let's hope that's a sign of what's coming. Man, what a beautiful morning. It's August. And what we're fishing here, we're just fishing the top of a structure that's not very deep. They're not out into that deep water yet. So you can't bank on them being in that deep water yet. We're still fishing 10 feet under the surface, 14 feet of water. And if you can find these areas with these little pieces of structure, I'll tell you what, it can be a gold mine even in August, long before the cold nights and the expectation that you would have of when you start catching these crappies when they leave the weeds. And that's what we're fishing. Look at that, that's a really good one. Perfect fish. 9 maybe, he's over 9, I'll bet he's 10. But that's what we're doing here, is just catching summertime crappies, because I'm still gonna call this summer, because here's the thing, we haven't hit that point of the year yet where the water's getting cold. We still have 70-degree water. People aren't thinking about these fish yet. They're still fishing walleyes, they're still fishing up in the weeds, but some of these fish have started moving out and getting onto some structures. Now, they're not going for those deep holes yet, but what they are doing is getting set up on the first structure they have found once they bailed out of there. And you can catch these fish in this scenario right here. Ooh, he started to bite it, started taking it down, then he spit it. He's still there. There he goes. Oh, and then I missed him that time. I wonder if he got my minnow. We're gonna drop it right back down. Nope, he didn't get it. That's what you gotta do when you miss a fish like that. Don't necessarily just assume that you lost your minnow, because sometimes what happens is that minnow's still there and he's still looking at it. Another great crop. Look at that fish. Let's talk a little bit about the location we're fishing here and what makes it special. Around here, there's a rock bar, and that's what I'm sitting on. That's another great eater-sized crappie. Beautiful fish. All around me, there's 14 feet of water. And the high point on what I'm fishing here, there's actually a couple cribs out here, and they've been man-made, and there's rocks around them too, okay? Now, this is the kind of stuff that is just ideal, because it'll hold crappies, gives them a place to hide, and yet at the same time too, it gives them a place to eat, because the minnows will hide in this kind of stuff. Now, here's the thing. There are crappies scattered out all over this little rock bar, but there's 2 sweet spots. There's 2 cribs sitting in here. And what I'm doing is I'm fishing these crib areas. Now, let me explain something to you. Over the years, there's a couple really good spots that I've always had for crappie fishing, okay, on a couple different lakes. And a lot of times they're just brush piles. Really what a crib is a man-made brush pile. But you can find brush piles, and nowadays I'm looking for a lot of these with my electronics when I'm just driving and looking. But you take a spot like this right here with a couple extra little pieces of timber on it, and man, I'll tell you what, it can just be deadly. Now what I'm doing now is just parking right up on top of it, because these fish seem to be relating to the top. But I will also tell you, there's fish all around me right now. I've seen fish all over the rock bar as I've driven around. Those are fish that are probably not actively eating. They're just hanging out there. You can catch those fish too. Here's the key to this structure. It's the first one off of shore. You can see the shoreline right here, and there's weeds up there. Those fish have come out here. Now here's the thing, they're not out here like they're gonna be when you get into that mid-September to late September and into October time frame. Because here's the thing, when the water really cools off, these fish are gonna leave this spot too. They're not gonna be here for long. What they're gonna do is they're gonna head for deeper water. And once they get out into that deeper water, that's when you're used to fishing these fish out in a hole and finding an area like that. But here's the thing, a spot like this at this time of the year, early, you know, earlier than what most people are thinking crappies. And I'm talking August. Man, you can catch fish on this stuff. And it's easy, it's fun. I mean, I'm just float fishing today. I mean, I'm making it as easy as you can make it. It's easy to control your depth. But if you wanted to drop a jig down there and jig them, you could jig them as well. Oh, right by the boat, look at that. Now, here's a really cool thing I just did. I saw that fish on the sonar. So I just reeled to the boat, and there he was, right underneath the sonar in the back. Look at that, another dandy crop. I want to show you what I'm using here, because it's a really simple deal. And this is, man, it's the easiest way to fish. Fish like what we're doing here today. Another great fish. Look at that. Man, how fun is that stuff? I tell you what, that is awesome. Let's throw him in and show you what we're using so that you have the system, because it's really, really easy. This right here is a Thill crappie cork. It's made out of balsa. It's made out of balsa, and what the balsa does is it makes it so neutrally buoyant once you weight it that those fish, even these crappies, don't even feel that float when they take it down. That's why we use that balsa float. Neat thing about the crappie cork, couple things. One, you can see right on it, it says the exact weight it'll hold up. So this one will hold up an 1/8, okay? So between that split shot I've got and the 16th ounce jig that I'm using, it's perfect. Number two is this float is a specialized float, meaning it comes as a spring float, so you can clip it on, or it's a slip float. Today I'm fishing deep enough that I want to use it as a slip float, okay? So it's really versatile. It does anything you really need, okay? Then I'm using a simple split shot and then a Lindy live bait jig. This is a 16th ounce live bait jig. A lot of people would say, boy, that looks like an awful big hook for panfish, but I'll tell you what, for crappies with a minnow, that's nothing to them. That's no big deal. In fact, you want a little bit bigger hook because you're going to get a better hookup percentage. But you put this system together, and I mean, it's just a piece of cake. I mean, this is easy. I'm fishing over an area that comes up to 10 feet, and I'm just setting everything to be rigged up at about 9 feet down, and it's one after another. All right. One tip I'll give you that I think can make a big difference. I've got crappie minnows this morning, and I've got fatheads. And you know what? I'm catching more of these fish on fatheads, bigger minnow. And again, you know, people a lot of times don't think of the big side for panfish. But let me tell you something. At this time of the year in August, they're eating big bait. I mean, crappies are predators. Once they get to the size we're catching here, they're not getting beat up by a whole lot. There might be a few pike take a swipe at them. There might be a couple muskies here and there take a swipe at them. But by the time they're to the size that we're catching here, the bass are leaving them alone. The walleyes are leaving them alone. So you can use a bigger minnow because they're a predator at that point. There he goes. Got him. That's cool. Oh yeah, come here, little guy. Not quite as big as a couple of them, but I'll tell you what. Another great eater-sized fish. Man, summertime crappie thing, it is definitely an overlooked deal. I'll give you a little tip as to what I'm doing here too. One of the things about this is this area that I'm sitting on top of is really, really small. Okay, so I'm spot locking the boat. I'm just parking the boat here. And what I'm doing is I'm just flipping out a little bit, and then I'll work the bait back a little, but I'm watching that sonar unit, and every time I see fish come up out of this stuff down on the bottom, every time I see them come up, I make sure to get to the back of the boat. If I get to the back of the boat, that's where the transducer is, right here. And it seems automatic that they bite. So you might want to cast around a little bit, but watch that sonar, and as soon as you see a fish, get back to the back of the boat. Because what'll happen is they'll just periodically rise in and out of all this stuff down there. And when you see them rise out of there, you can tell there's a difference. I mean, you can see them come up out of there. You got to get to them, because if you get to them, they'll bite. There he goes. Got him. That is so cool when you can get them right at the boat. My knot slid there. I'm gonna have to change that. Look at that, another dandy crop. Hey, get out and do some of this late summer crappie fishing. You know, you don't gotta wait until they get out deep, and you don't gotta go in there and fight trying to find them in the weeds. You can find them on these first structures, and if you just do a little bit of looking around and fish up above them, you know, that's one of the keys to today. I'm fishing up above these fish by a couple feet, getting them to move, and I'm not that far down. I mean, right there, I'm 7 feet down over the top of 10 foot on the structure, and then down to 14 feet of water. Man, I'll tell you what, this is some fun stuff. Get out and do it. That's enough for my meal tonight. What an awesome day.